Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Echo Aftab. In my today's session, we will be starting with demand analysis and we are going to deal today with law of demand. Myself Aftab Bhai. So before starting with what exactly law of demand is, I would like to place in front of you two news articles. So here the first news article is with regard to Jio SIM card. Why I have brought this thing into the picture is, you can see here, when the Jio SIM card was introduced, it was absolutely free. So the Jio SIM cards were free at that moment, introductionally. So, and the demand was insane. People were standing in long queues outside the stores to have a Jio SIM card. So this is the first thing. So when a commodity is having very low price or free, the demand will be too high. The another situation I would like to bring is here. In 2016, if you remember, the government had introduced a rule to ban all the vehicles which are having Bharat Stage 3 models. So here what happened, because of the piling up of the inventory by the showrooms, they decided to go on for heavy discounts. So the discounts were provided by the showrooms. We can say from 6,000 to 12,500 rupees the discounts were provided. At that time there was mad rush outside the showrooms. Most of the people went on for buying these two-wheelers. So as the price reduced, you could see the demand was very high for two-wheelers. So based on this two news articles, we can understand that how important price is, or how price can influence the demand in the market. Moving ahead, let us start with a given equilibrium price and quantity demanded, and we will try to understand what will happen if there is a change in price. So let us assume that the equilibrium price is rupees 4 and the equilibrium quantity demand is 40 units. What happens if the price increases? So if the price increases from rupees 4 to rupees 5, the quantity demanded will decrease to 30 units. There is a fall in 10 units of quantity demanded. Further, if the price increases to rupees 6, the quantity demanded will go down to 20 units. So this is the first case, that is, if price increases, the quantity demanded is decreasing. Again, from the equilibrium price, if the price decreases from 4 rupees to 3 rupees, the quantity demanded will increase to 50 units. If there is a further fall in price from the rupees 3 to rupees 2, the quantity demanded will go up to 60 units. And if the price further falls to rupee 1, the quantity demanded will be 70 units. So this is what is happening. So because of rise in price, the quantity demanded is falling, and because of the fall in price, the quantity demanded is rising. So this is what happens when we move away. Why do we move away from the equilibrium price? It will be because of change in price. We will be moving away from equilibrium quantity demanded. The same thing I can present it in a form of table, tabular presentation of our previous example. This tabular presentation, we call it as demand schedule. So what is demand schedule? I'll give the definition in the coming slides. So right now we shall move ahead from demand schedule to understand how we can graphically represent this demand schedule. So here you can see there is a graph. On the graph, on x-axis quantity demanded is measured, and on y-axis price is taken, and this is our graphical representation. Friends, why price is measured on y-axis and quantity demanded is measured on x-axis? It is as per convention. Alfred Marshall, in his book Principles of Economics, he has taken quantity demanded on x-axis and price on y-axis. Mathematically, the dependent variable should come on y-axis and the independent variable should come on x-axis. But Marshall has followed Carnot's model and he has taken quantity demanded on x-axis. I can say that when initially, before this law of demand, when Alfred Marshall spoke about quantity demanded, he had assumed that the quantity demanded in the market will be the same. The market will adjust the price to clear off the stock in the market. That may be one more reason why Alfred Marshall has taken quantity demanded on x-axis. So it has become a convention and we will follow the convention. We can go mathematically. When we speak about mathematics, then quantity demanded will come on y-axis and price will come on x-axis. As of now, this is the case. So when the price is rupee 1, the quantity demanded is 70 units. If there is a rise in price, the quantity demanded reduces. Further, when the price increases to rupees 3, the quantity demanded is 50 units. For 4 rupees, the quantity demanded is 40. When the price increases to 5, the quantity demanded is 30. And at last, when the price is 7 rupees, the quantity demanded is 10 units. So when we join the locus of price and quantity demand of the graph, we will get a curve, and it is called as the demand curve. So the demand curve is, when we speak about this demand curve, you can see one phenomenon over here, that is the price is increasing and quantity demanded is decreasing. So there is an inverse relationship between price and demand, and this inverse relationship, we say that because of this inverse relationship, the demand curve is having negative slope. The negative slope, because if one increases, the other will move exactly in the opposite direction, and this shows that there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, and this inverse relationship mathematically we can call it as the slope of the demand curve is negative, negatively sloping demand curve. Moving ahead, having understood this thing, now theoretically what we can speak about law of demand, or what is law of demand. So the amount demanded increases with a fall in price and diminishes with a rise in price. This is what is said by Alfred Marshall in his work Principles of Economics about law of demand. Or in other words, we can say ceteris paribus, if the price of a commodity increases, its quantity demanded decreases, and if the price of a commodity decreases, its quantity demanded increases. So in this situation, we say that what is happening is, again there is an inverse relationship between demand and price. So if price is increasing, demand is decreasing. This particular word ceteris paribus, this word ceteris paribus is the main crux of law of demand. So what does ceteris paribus means? Friends, ceteris paribus is a Latin word. It is a Latin word, and what does it mean? It means other things remaining constant. Ceteris paribus, other things remaining constant. If price increases, quantity demanded decreases, and vice versa. And this and vice versa, we can have one more simpler definition. So according to Ferguson, what is law of demand? The law of demand states that the quantity varies inversely with price. So having understood these three definitions of law of demand, we can move ahead and try to see some other related concepts of law of demand. One is demand function. What do you mean by demand function? A demand function refers to the relationship between the quantity demanded, that is, as I told, dependent variable, and the determinants of demand for the product, and that is the independent variable. So this we can write it in the form Q is equal to F of P comma Y comma PR comma T. So here Q is our dependent variable, that is quantity demanded, and P is price of the commodity, Y is income of the consumer, and PR is price of the related goods, and T refers to the taste and preferences of the consumers. So this is what is demand function. So here you can see mathematically we can write this as, if we take other things remaining constant, income is constant, prices of related goods are constant, and taste is constant, then Q is equal to A minus BP. So this A is speaking about all the things which are constant, and this P is our independent variable, and this Q is our dependent variable, that is demand for goods, and here you can see this B is our slope, and this slope is having minus sign. So, this minus sign is telling the demand curve is having negative slope. Now, this particular equation holds good when we want to solve the problems that comes under economics with regard to total revenue, with regard to elasticity of demand, or with regard to maximization and minimization problems. One more thing that I would like to introduce here briefly is something called as inverse demand function. What is inverse demand function? It can be written as P inverse is equal to F of Q. That is the same above demand function which I have written over here. Q is equal to A minus BP. I can write it as P inverse is a function of Q. So, this is what is inverse demand function. This we normally make use of when we go on for maximization problems, or you can say when we go on for cost minimization. So, in maximization and minimization we are speaking about profit. We want to maximize the profit. What is profit? Profit is nothing but we can say total revenue minus total cost. When we speak about total revenue is price into quantity. So, when we want to derive total revenue, we make use of inverse demand function. About this I will be telling in detail when we go into the mathematics for economics playlist. So, as of now, remember there is something also called as inverse demand function. Let us move ahead. The law of demand is based upon certain assumptions. Few of the assumptions I already told you, but let us see here point wise. The first assumption is income should be constant, because if there is a change in income, even if the price does not change, and if the income changes, the quantity demanded is going to change. Price of related goods should be constant, that is complementary goods, or it can be substitute goods, their prices should not change, they should be constant. Taste and preferences should not change. If a person is alcoholic, and if he finds the doctor diagnoses that further consumption of alcohol can lead to liver damage which will be irreparable, then he may give up alcohol. So, here because of the change in his taste, what has happened? The demand for alcohol has gone down. It is not because of price, but because of change in taste and preferences. Similarly, the commodity should be a normal commodity. What do you mean by normal commodity? A normal commodity matlab it should not be an essential commodity, such as medicines. If the commodity is an essential commodity, whatever the price, the demand is not going to change. And on the other hand, the commodity should not be an inferior good or a given good, about which I will be speaking about later. And the last assumption is there should be no change in population. So, there should be no influx of population, or there should not be any exodus of population from any particular place. If that happens, again it will have a tremendous impact on the demand irrespective of the price. So, based on these assumptions, law of demand operates. If any of these assumptions are violated, then law of demand does not operate. Then comes demand schedule. As I told in the previous slides, where we had a table where we had different prices, and for different prices there were different quantities demanded. So, a demand schedule is a list of prices and quantities. At each price, certain quantity of commodities demanded in the market. That is what is called as demand schedule, or in other words, a demand schedule is a table which represents different prices and its corresponding quantities. So, moving ahead, this demand schedule can be categorized into two ways, and what is that? One is called as individual demand schedule, and the other is called as market demand schedule. When we speak about how an individual behaves with regard to change in price, how his quantity demanded changes, that is individual demand schedule. When we add up all the demand schedules of all the individual consumers in the market, what we get is we get the market demand schedule. Now, the question comes, when you speak about law of demand, why is it that the demand curve slopes downward, or why there is a negative sloping demand curve? The main reason for this is, First one is law of demand is based on the principle of diminishing marginal utility. So what does diminishing marginal utility says? As you remember, in my initial classes I had spoken of law of diminishing marginal utility. So as a consumer consumes first unit of a commodity, he derives certain amount of utility, and he knows that from the second unit his utility will not be the same. Just to put it in this numbers, if I say with regard to quantity and with regard to marginal utility, from the first unit, if the consumer derives 10 utils of utility, he will be ready to give 10 rupees. Let us assume he is ready to pay 10 rupees for that first unit, because he knows that he will be getting 10 utils of utility. Now from the second unit, he will not be getting the same amount of utility. What will happen to his marginal utility? It will be something less than the earlier. So if I assume here it to be 8 units, then here now the consumer will not wish to buy the commodity at 10 rupees, but he will wish to buy the commodity at 8 rupees, because what he is trying to do, he is trying to equate his marginal utility with the price, and that is the reason as the price goes down, the willingness of the consumer to buy more also increases, because he subconsciously he is trying to equate his marginal utility with the price. So this is also one form of consumer equilibrium with regard to a single commodity under under cardinal analysis of utility. So this is the first case. Then the second case is income effect. What is this income effect? If the income of the consumer increases, the demand will increase, we know it. But now suppose there is a commodity, consumer is buying, let us say 10 units of the commodity at price 5 rupees. Now if the price increases to 10 rupees, what will happen? The consumer will not be able to buy 10 units, but he will be able to buy, let us say, 5 units. Why? Because this increase in price has reduced his real income, and this reduction in real income is causing the demand to fall, and that is what is called as income effect. So when we speak about income effect, you are speaking with regard to real income of the consumer. Real income is with regard to what is happening to his purchasing power. Increase in price leads to decrease in purchasing power, and decrease in purchasing power matlab his real income has gone down, and that is the reason the quantity demanded will also go down. And the third reason is substitution effect. What is substitution effect? So when we speak about the price of the commodity, if the price reduces, then the consumer will be saving certain amount of money. Okay, so let us say if the consumer is buying for 10 rupees 1 unit of a commodity, now if the price is reduced to rupees 5, what is happening? So for earlier he was paying 10 rupees, now for the same 1 unit of commodity he is paying 5 rupees. So his savings are 5 rupees. So this savings of 5 rupees, what he can do? He can use it for buying one more unit of the same commodity, or he can buy one more unit of some other commodity, let us say Y commodity, if this is X commodity. So in this case, because of the fall in price, this additional income becomes income effect, and when he is using it to buy some another commodity or the same commodity, then that becomes our substitution effect. So diminishing marginal utility, income effect and substitution effect, these are the three main reasons for the law of demand to operate, or you can say for the demand curve to slope downwards or to have a negative slope. Now coming to the last part, when does the law of demand doesn't operate? It doesn't operate at the times of fear of shortages. Let us say if the recent things, what is happening, if at all the government announces lockdown, people will fear that the things will not be available, so they will rush to the market, they will rush to the shop, they will rush to the grocery stores. Even if the prices are inflating, the demand will not reduce, but it goes on increasing. So in terms with regard to fear of shortages, law of demand will not work. If the consumer doesn't know actually what is happening in the market or what are the prices in the market, even then at a higher price he may buy higher quantity. With regard to speculation, again fear of shortages, the same point I can relate it. Speculation, if the consumer speculate that tomorrow or in the next week the petrol prices are going to increase, then what will they do? Actually today only the demand will start increasing, the prices will go on increasing, and even the demand will go on increasing. So normally speculation leads to increase in demand and increase in prices. Then the next one is called as Veblen effect. So what is Veblen effect? There are certain commodities which have prestige value, or you can say, I would like to say, which are having snob appeal, snobbish customers. The word snobbish, what is snobbish? In Hindi normally we call it zara hatke, sabse alag. So if a customer is very snobbish and he gives more importance to the prestige value of the commodity, so we can say Veblen, an economist, came with this thing. So Veblen has described them as commodities of conspicuous consumption. Conspicuous matlab to show off. So for example, when the price of any commodity, let us say diamond, if it rises, these are the snob consumers who want to buy it to show it to others that I have bought the costliest diamond. So this snobbish appeal among the customers, normally this happens with regard to very affluent customers or very rich customers. So with regard to affluent customers, there is normally Veblen effect. Higher the price, higher will be their demand. Lower the price, it will be against their prestige to buy that thing. So that is the reason we are having exclusive cars, four-wheelers that comes with regard to certain you can say esteemed reputed companies, where the higher the price, the more the demand of this particular snob customers. This is what is called as Veblen effect. Then the last exception is Giffen paradox. Giffen was an economist who analyzed a market, in 19th century, and the market was in Ireland. I would like to just give few seconds over here. In Ireland, in 19th century, Giffen observed a phenomena with regard to bread, and what did he see was, when the price of bread was increasing, the quantity demanded was increasing, and when the price of bread was decreasing, the quantity demanded was also decreasing. Now normally in most of the books this is what they are given. So Giffen paradox is that it is not working as per law of demand. It is that if prices increases, quantity demanded is also increasing. Now what is this? Now let us say, I'll explain it to you what is Giffen paradox. Let us say on one hand we are having price, and on the other hand we are having quantity. So if the price of a commodity of the bread in question is, let us say, 10 rupees, and he is buying one quantity, one loaf of bread. Now if the price increases to rupees 5, what does the law of demand say? The law of demand says that the consumer should buy 2 units. But here what Giffen observed was that the price has decreased. Now what the consumer will do? He will buy not 2 units, or he may not even buy 1 unit, but he will buy half a loaf of bread. So if he is buying half a loaf of bread for 5 rupees, earlier he was spending 10 rupees, now he is spending just 2 rupees 50 paisa. So what is happening? He is saving 7 rupees 50 paisa, and this 7 rupees 50 paisa he will spend it on certain other commodity. Let us say he will spend it in buying meat. This here you can see, because the price went down, what the consumer did, he reduced the consumption of bread and he went on for increasing the consumption of meat. So here if you compare it, bread is an inferior commodity as compared to meat, because meat is a superior commodity which is very costly. Similarly, exactly the opposite thing will work. if the price of bread increases, it becomes costly for him to buy bread itself. So he will try to buy more units of bread and he will give up the consumption of superior commodity. This is what is called as Giffen paradox. So friends, with this we complete the concept of law of demand. So in my next class we shall see changes in demand. So when I speak about changes in demand, what will happen if price changes and what will happen if other things which are constant, if they change to the demand curve. So friends, as usual, thank you for watching Understanding Economics with Professor Aftab. Let your support be with me. Until my next class, please take care of yourself and be happy. Tata, bye bye.